have a question for you. What do you get when you put a woman, who may or may not want a pet monkey, some heavy chain, a deck of tarot cards, a computer, and an astrological chart all in the same room?
Well, that's a really good question.
Besides a visit from PETA and a vacation in a sanitarium, you get mesmerized.
You are in for some mighty big trouble.
She is Resmeranda. She glimpses us and our futures and tells all every week on Resmerized. Get Resmerized live around midnight every time a Monday turns into a Tuesday. Only Resmeranda can resmerize you, and you can only find Resmeranda on 0 Point Radio.
This is Resmeranda, and you have been mesmerized.
On that phone thing, mostly talk. Well, I think I finally got it. I got one of them toll-free numbers for folks to call in with.
Oh, you got it? What's the number?
Well, it's 1-888-520-1969.
Let me write this down. It's 1-888.
Yeah.
520-1969.
That's it.
Excellent. Good work, though. We'll talk to you later, dude.
Cool. Catch ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
MrOla.com. See what you've been missing out on. Funny videos that will make you poop your pants laughing. Services such as web and POP3 email, image editing, and logo design at very low rate. Funny videos that will make you poop your pants laughing. Free streaming and downloadable videos. MrOlaf.com. That's www.MrOlaf.videos that will make you poop your pants laughing.
That's right, we're back on The Price is Right here. That's what it sounds like, man.
It's music.
I don't know what it's porn, I don't know whether it's The Price is Right, I don't know what it is, man.
Oh, we had a...
Oh, look at Will go.
Oh, man.
Look at him pump that table.
We have Phobos on the line.
Yes, he is. Hello, Phobos.
Hello.
Hey.
Oh, it's so much easier to hear through the headphones, you know? I like that.
I think it's because we're going deaf.
Yeah.
I know I am.
In my case, so.
Phobos is here for another tongue lashing.
Yeah, we're gonna.
Actually, no, it's the other way around.
Let's see how we can beat up this questioner.
We're gonna try to stump Phobos again this week.
I have to say, Gary didn't email me, so I think
he's angry.
This contest is making enemies. We are getting enemies.
I'm in the chat room.
To pop in and say, "Oh, sorry, Gary, I didn't mean it."
All right, hit him.
All right. Here, what the dilemma is, Phobos, is that the question came in. Unfortunately, it's more of a trivia kind of question.
We don't want that.
And we don't want trivia kind of questions. So first, I'm going to give you the question as it was written. Okay?
And then we're going to get a good laugh.
And we're going to get a good laugh out of it. No. I'm going to give you the question as it was written, and then we're going to come up with another question, okay? And I need Scott L's help with this, okay?
Thanks.
First, listen to the question as it was written, okay? So don't answer anything yet.
Okay.
Unless you know it.
Yeah, if you know it, it's going to be a bigger slap in the face.
This question came from our very own Steve at Nexus Domain.
Okay.
Okay? So he was just on
he was just on before you.
He says, "Hey, Doug, I have a question to stump Phobos with on GT." Ghostly talk. It is as follows. What were the beings of light called in ancient Egypt?
Beings of light called in ancient Egypt.
What were the beings of light called in ancient Egypt?
So it's very trivia.
It's excruciatingly trivia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I did some study.
Type question.
Yeah, that's a trivia type question.
Yeah.
However, I did some studying, and I talked with Steve about it. I did some studying on it. I actually found out, I came up with a completely different answer than he had. So I don't like no, he doesn't have the answer on here.
Okay.
I don't even
Do
remember.
you have the answer on?
The answer that I read, because I looked on, I searched everywhere, and the beings of light were actually there were two people in ancient Egypt, the priest and priestess of, and I'm going to pronounce this wrong, of Thoth, T-H-O-T-H. Thoth. They were called the beings of light. However,
when the finger comes up.
Steve had a different name for them, okay? I don't want to know the name of them, okay? But I want to know what you know, Phobos, about ghosts in ancient Egypt. What did they think of ghosts? How were ghosts portrayed? How were they thought of? Were they even thought of? What were ghosts?
Okay. Well, in the ancient Egypt, I'm assuming we're talking about the pyramid times, which is, of course, Scott's favourite time. So
I loved it back then, man. It was just a hoot.
It was a lot of work.
Dude, we partied hard. Oh.
Well, the ancient Egyptians had basically, like a lot of ancient societies, they had a faith-based system which was partially, at least, astrological. They were, or at least believed to be, having a system which is saying, okay, they've got people from other star systems who've come to the planet and all the rest of it. But the most successful religions have all been based on the study and examination of the stars. So in a way, all of the old religions were astronomical in their basis. Mm-hmm. That actually makes perfect sense, because if you do actually study astronomy, you begin to learn the seasons, and then you become good farmers. So any cult that learns anything about the sun, the moon, the stars, they become good farmers. It's a byproduct, a spin-off, and of course that makes them successful. The Egyptians were very successful. They had surplus capabilities, considering they were living in a desert, to actually do a lot of things such as the construction of...
yeah, exactly. You just finished my sentence I was thinking of right there.
Yeah.
That's what gave them the time to do all these cool things like building pyramids.
Directly on with what you were saying, though, about their religion. Now, they believed, or at least as far as the archaeologists are concerned, they believed that their pyramids were like just temporary repositories where their souls were going to be transferred to the stars. We're talking specifically about towards Orion's belt and I'm trying to think of the other one now. But the main point was that their souls were supposed to leave the pyramids, and that's all the shafts and so on. It was all meant to assist their departure to the afterlife.
That's what they basically...
Orion or wherever.
There was a certain... I forgot what they called it. Oh, now my brain stopped too, Phobos.
Well, okay.
But the pyramid itself, the Cheops pyramid...
Preserving of the body and so on. When they're talking about the ghosts, now, I suppose, strictly speaking, from that interpretation, they don't really think that you turn into a ghost, because your body is still containing your soul until some point way off into the future. Since a ghost is meant to be a disembodied soul, from that aspect at least, I would say that they wouldn't have gone by what we would define as ghosts. But I may have missed something, so I'll pass that one back to you and see where we go.
Well, it makes sense. What these beings of light were supposedly, there's a name for them, I've forgotten it. It doesn't really matter. They were supposed to be the equivalent of ghosts in our society, though. They were not, although I have to say, I don't believe that these beings of light were disembodied spirits. And I did pose the question as ghosts, which are in our culture, our modern culture, disembodied human spirits. Uh-huh. So I think you're going to be right there.
Well, we are differentiating from like the Ra and all the ones which were meant to be like men gods. They're the gods have bred with humans, or whatever mixture you want to put it with.
Building the pyramid was a reincarnation machine. That's basically That's the contemporary belief on the non-fringe side of the equation, as far as studying the pyramids, the archaeology of the pyramids. So what they did believe, like you did mention, Phobos, the shafts that were built into the pyramid, there's been a lot of theories on that, and they finally come to the conclusion that those shafts were designed for King Khufu's soul to float out, and they were fixed right into a certain... God, I wish I remembered which...
Well, actually, if I'm on the right track as what you were about to say, you know that the three pyramids of Giza are meant to be a representation
of the Orion Belt. Yes, yeah. Orion's Belt.
So, in fact, that has a lot of meaning to me, because remember me phoning in a while back and mentioning about a crop circle I found?
Uh-huh.
That was 3 circles, 2 and 1 smaller, where the third one was offset slightly.
Uh-huh.
In other words, they were in the same sort of proportion.
Same configuration as Orion's
Belt,
Belt, yes.
The pyramids of Giza.
Uh-huh.
So when I saw the pyramids of Giza explained, I sort of saw a parallel there. I thought that was quite interesting. But this was a documentary actually. What they were saying is that the arrangement of the pyramids may have been trying to, using the geological surfaces and the artificial structures, trying to replicate some sort of ground-based map of the stars.
Yes.
So it's not proof. Because
actually, Robert Bivol, in his book, the Orion Theory, I believe. I have the book at home. That whole book is based on that theory that we're talking about right now, and that was the bottom line. They're saying that
Polk and the other guy, wasn't it?
Yeah. I'm trying to think. It was Robert Bivol was the main writer for the book, but that was their main theory, is that the pyramids of Giza were supposed to be a representation of Orion's Belt, and that those shafts, the shaft coming from Cheops Pyramid, was fixed right in the center of Orion's Belt too. I believe there was a name for that also where it was fixed at. It's escaping me right now. It is in that book though. It's a good book to read too. But Doug,
the mummification process was basically to house the soul. It wasn't anything to do with the body, it was to house the soul. I might be wrong there, but that's how I understood it.
The mummification process to house the soul?
Why did they put the bandages around the dead bodies?
Well, they mummified everything. They
mummified cats.
They mummified
birds.
They
buried everything with the people, so I suppose you could qualify the bodies and that, but they wouldn't have... they weren't expecting reanimation, though, because they're talking about these shafts.
Uh-huh.
They were too small for people to climb up, so...
But not a soul.
No way the body was going to be reanimated and go up that up.
Physically reanimated. But a soul could fit through there, though.
There's
hypothetically speaking.
There's a fight going on in the chat room.
What's going on? What happened?
Whether or not... because I reworded the question... Right.
And you got us in big trouble, didn't you?
I did. But what happens is, the beings of light were called Net Jeru.
Okay.
Okay, they were called Net Jeru. That's the.
But we can't expect Phobos to know that because that's trivia.
That's a trivia question. So I reworded it into ghosts.
Okay.
I personally think that Phobos more than capably answered that question that I posed to him.
So do I.
However,
if I'm wrong on the specifics of my answer, then the question is on the prize, so to speak. That's the way I would interpret it.
Yeah, exactly.
Misleading information. Then
you gave an absolutely excellent interpretation of an answer to tell us about ghosts in Egypt.
I don't have my glasses on, so I wear glasses anyways.
What they're saying is, Scott K is saying to go ahead and for basically getting such an interesting question, and even though we had to reword it and say, go ahead and give Steve a prize.
Go ahead and Steve, for what?
I don't know, because I don't understand the thinking. I think that Phobos answered my question.
I know that Phobos answered your question.
Yeah.
Therefore, we said we were going to leave it up to Phobos, though.
That's true.
So I'm stepping back, and Phobos is going to be the one getting yelled at.
All right,
it's Phobos' fault now.
I was just tweeting there. I was thinking, Scott's the expert on this subject.
There you go. Yeah,
Perfect, Scott.
So what we want to know, Phobos? Okay, there's people in the chat room saying, go ahead and give him the prize, and there's people in the chat room, and there's me saying, I don't know, you answered the general theory question that I posed to you. So we've got two camps here. What do you think?
Do you think we should give it up?
I mean, I think that you're confident enough in your answer to say, nope, don't give him the prize.
But it's up to you, though.
But it's up to you.
What do you think, Phobos? Do you think we should give it up to Steve, give him a prize? Oh, look how happy he is.
It's very difficult.
Now we've stumped Phobos.
Phobos has got his little squeezy toy on his desk right now. That thing is just being strangled to death right now.
He's going, how do I do this and not be a bad guy?
Now, do you think we should give it up, Phobos, or not? I mean, it's up to you.
It technically...
Because I'm telling you right now that your answer was more than enough.
Can we let it ride on the accuracy of the mummification process? If the mummification process was actually to capture the soul and keep it until the afterlife, then I did make a point on that. So if I'm wrong on that, then you should win the prize, because that's a big blunder.
Okay, let's do that. Then what we'll do is, after the show, we'll look up,
and you
can go to your books and things like that.
I will research that.
What the purpose of the mummification process was in relation to the soul.
And what we'll do is follow that up next week.
And we'll follow it up next week, and we'll let you all know what we come out with.
Okay, that sounds
good. That was a significant chunk of my answer, so...
Yes, it was. Yeah. Yes, it was. So I agree. And unfortunately, I don't have a direct answer for that to confer that with you. The rest of everything you talked about, I am telling you, you're right on with that. As far as what research has been done up to this point, and what archaeology has been done to this point, also, you're right on with that. As far as what reading there is out there, as far as what truth we can get out of that. You see what I'm saying? You're right on with that. But the
some current news for you, by the way.
What's that?
Talking about cloning, that was something I wanted to mention. That it was actually in yesterday's news.
Wow.
The first designer baby was born.
Designer baby?
Designer baby.
That's the label they're putting on it. It's good for headlines. But
they did some genetic...
What it really is, it's been a very long running...
You have a racing straight down the side of it or something?
What they've done is that there's been a couple, and they've been unfortunate in that their first child has had a genetic problem. It's probably going to die.
Oh.
Now, there's a cure, but it involves having another baby. The baby has to be a good, close match to the first child, and then they can transfer a little part of the fetus. In fact, it's the stem cells, those unique cells that can transform into any cell, basically. They're very, very good, and they can be used in all sorts of therapies. And for their child, their first child, their second child could quite easily save its life. But the problem was, that was the main reason, if you like, for having the second child. That was the incentive. And there's a big controversy as to whether they should be allowed to have this designer baby. After all, they weren't just going to randomly have a child. They were going to have it artificially inseminated, and the right one that has the right blood type was going to be selected so that the bone marrow transfusion, or in this case, it was stem cells, if I remember. But the main thing was that the baby was going to save the life of the other child. And that is a designer baby. Now, it's not quite cloning. It comes from stem cell research, and that is spot on in the cloning field.
So let me get this process straight. You have the first child.
Mm-hmm.
It's a dud, basically. It's like, this baby is going to die. This baby has a genetic disorder. It will die. But if you have a second child, we can use the first child to cure your second child, so your child will grow up happy and healthy and normal.
Use the first, but it has to be a close match.
Right, so they had to make a bunch of embryos and find one that would be correct for this.
But we still have to have this first baby, though, right?
My question about that is, does any harm come to the second baby?
No harm comes to it, but what about the other babies?
What about the first baby?
Fertilized. The ones that are not taken through to full term. They're not even given a chance to born. You see, that's the pro-life argument.
Yeah, and I think, you know what, I'm gonna express a very strong opinion right now.
Uh-oh.
I think that's sick. I think that's disgusting. I think that's
what,
wrong.
You mean aborting the ones that
well, they're not straight. You can't, I mean, a woman will have many eggs that aren't fertilized, but going through a process whereby a fertilization stage is going through.
What's grabbing me, what's irking me is the first baby.
Creation of cells and so on, though.
Yeah, maybe it's not clear to me yet, but we're talking about having one child that has a defect.
Yes.
It has a defect.
That's going to die.
It's going to die. We've had the child, though. This is a baby, right? This is a live baby, right, we have in our hands.
I think it's coming up to 5 years old now, but
But this is a
There's
physical
human being
being. This
that's
is a
going
human
to
being.
die unless a good match is made with their next child.
So then what they did is they picked and chose the fertilized egg that would be a close enough match for this baby. So there were undoubtedly, some fertilized eggs that were not allowed to develop.
And it was contentious enough for it not to be allowed to be done in the UK. It was done in the States.
I think, what's up? We have a pop-up about the purpose of mummification, Phobos. Give us 1 second here. Maybe we can get this clarified this week. What's going on? Why don't somebody read this out loud or whatnot? Somebody give somebody a mic or something.
I can read it.
Hang on for a second, okay, Phobos?
This is exactly what we have. Are you ready?
All right.
The purpose of mummification was to, quote, preserve the body of the deceased as far as possible and to provide the departed with the means and accessories for the journey into eternity. That's end quote. That's from The Orion Mystery by Robert Duvall.
That's the book I was talking about.
The
Orion
Mystery. Gilbert. Yeah. from Jeff.
That's the book we were talking about a second ago. Also, I liked reading about the pyramid stuff.
Okay,
I'm not a big mummy guy, but
all it does is prepare or give the soul the necessary tools and accessories for the journey.
Well, when they've unwound these mummies that have been found, they've found all kinds of stuff.
Like death masks and things like that.
Yeah, gold jewelry, wrapped, not on their fingers or around their neck, just literally wrapped with them, put on there and wrapped around.
Unfortunately, that quote doesn't answer what is done.
It sort of hints that maybe the dead body was then just a clothes source. It makes you wonder why you would need the body at all, though, because the body's not going to be used.
Yeah.
Faith is a really difficult
thing
to unravel.
Faith is still for the soul.
We'll still look into it.
We're going to look into this. I want to make sure this is clarified.
Yeah,
but that's
another way. You could say that the body itself is like a friendly house, right? They're not going to occupy it. But if they like all the things that were around them while they were alive, then this is just one more item. You mustn't, in this case, think of the body as part of the being.
I have to say,
it's just one more familiar thing
for the afterlife.
Yeah.
I have one thing to say. The designer thing, and then we're going to break.
Babies.
The designer baby. I can't think of a more noble cause to be brought into this world to start your life with, than saving a human being.
I agree with that. But
okay.
I agree with that, but why would it have to happen in the first place?
Well, the rest of it, the part about picking and choosing the viable, the viable donor and things like that. That I may have a few problems with, but
I agree with what you just said completely.
But with with the baby that was brought into the world, or they made this announcement yesterday. That particular baby brought into the world to save his older brother, basically, his or her older brother. What a cause. I mean, what a way to start your life, saving your older brother's life.
That child died. That child dies in Risalto. Am I correct?
No.
That child
doesn't
die.
There's no operation done on the second child.
So they both live.
The bits that would be thrown away from the placenta. So there's no harm.
You know what, Phobos? You know what you're going to do? Scott L. at ghostlytalk.com. I want you to, if you can find an article on this, I'd like you to forward this to me as soon as you can. Okay, if you could do that for me, please. I want to review this thoroughly. I want to read this because I feel another topic coming on very, very soon.
I do too.
Okay.
You can take this into the cloning thing, as I said, because stem cells are being to make clones.
Yeah.
Please, Phobos, Scott L. at ghostlytalk.com. If you could send me, if you have an article on the computer or something like that I might like to read, please send that over. I'm going to do my own research, but if you have something, please send that to me because I'd like to read that through thoroughly to understand it.
With that, we're going to break. Thank you, Phobos. We'll let you know if you were stumped next week.
Because we should have that clarified because that's going to be the issue that will be.
Yeah, that's going to be a huge issue.
We'll find out.
I've introduced it now.
So, thanks, Phobos.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
We're going to break.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right, bye there.
Bye. Fascinating stuff.
I thought we were going to talk about cults today.
I know, we missed it. We had a 1 hour long Stump Phobos.
Well, we had a half an hour Stump Phobos.
Oh, okay.
But this is just...
Let's see if we can talk about some cults.
I'm emotionally drained right now.
Let's talk about cults.
I'm going to bed.
Next half hour.
We'll be right back.
It's paranormal and scientific. It's Ghost Talk.
Little Richie's around here somewhere, and you know, I've been trying all year long to get him to stop bothering Res Miranda. She's busy. This is Richie. It is late now. No one's watching. Oh, I'm listening in my bedroom on computer. I will write and email to her. Res Miranda, 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 Res Miranda. How did that kid get in?
So far. I'm going to clue Lisa in after the show. And then she'll never ghost hunt with you again. Nah, she will.
All right, man.
All right. Here's what we got. This has been a really wild show.
Yeah, this is really, this is one of those shows that really just kind of took on a life of its own.
It sure did.
And we have no control over it.
No, it's careening,
yeah,
around corners and through
defective
tunnels.
roller coaster, bad weld.
Yeah.
Off the tracks we go.
Welcome to Ghost Talk, an e-ticket ride.
Yeah, there you go. Well, do you want to talk about some more cults?
I don't know. We should. I mean, you've got a list of them.
Well, you know what? We didn't. I mean, the thing that I found interesting about cults. Another thing.
I want Borg to call in.
Yeah, where's that kid at? Where's he at?
He's in the chat room, and he's just not calling.
Oh.
Well, he might have called, but see, we have one line in the Honda Bay.
We've had like tied up for an hour.
Yeah, if it's when you call, if it's ringing, you gotta let it ring because
we will pick it up.
We pick it up eventually.
We'll pick it up.
But if it's busy, that means we're already talking to someone. So that's how it works. It's there for you if you want it.
Well,
let's talk about another.
Well, I want to kind of continue with Jim Jones for a minute because see. The one thing when I was like just looking this stuff over and just trying to get some info for us was, what were the belief systems these people had?
Right.
Excuse me, they all had their own distinctive, well, not distinctive, but different type of belief system. They may have been similar in some ways, but they were different in other ways. What made, the family different as opposed to the People's Church, or the cult of the Seven Seals different as opposed to the family, or whatever you want to say.
Right,
okay?
exactly.
Jim Jones and the People's Temple, for example, their belief system was practiced by the People's Temples. It was created as a blend of many different religions, really, and social theories. The theology Jones created combined elements of Pentecostalism with aspects of socialism and communism.
Wow. Which
ties right in with the political structure we were talking about earlier. Okay. Much of the religion that Jim Jones initially practiced was borrowed from the Pentecostal movement. And yet gave it his own flair, which that's like how I want to start Scottism right there. I want to start Scott-Ellism.
Scott-Ellism.
Well, you go to parties and you get a few beers in the end. Religion always pops up.
Let's see if this caller wants to be
we have a call.
Scottless.
You've reached the cult of the Dead Seal. How can I help you?
Hey, it's Mike in Providence. I thought I'd tell you some stuff about Egypt.
Oh, cool.
All right, okay.
Inform us.
I guess we're not going to talk about cults anyways.
We need to know about Egypt.
Throw that thing away and we'll go. There you go. All right.
We'll do cults for the rest of the month.
Okay.
We'll just keep doing cults and we'll talk about Egypt.
Mike.
I do want to know. Tell us everything you know.
Tell us.
Okay. First about ghosts in Egypt. I'm not going to try to answer Phobos' question. I'm not really a guy to try to stump Phobos. That's not my calling. But, there are two documented cases of ghosts that I can think of in Egypt. One is the Pharaoh Amenemhat the First.
Okay.
And
is that Old Kingdom or New Kingdom? Do you know? Shut up, Scott.
Towards the end of the Middle Kingdom.
End of the Middle Kingdom. Okay.
Well, no, towards the beginning of the Middle Kingdom.
Okay, that's fine.
I think it's 12th Dynasty.
12th Dynasty. All right.
There's a book instructions of Amenemhat, which are a lot of little quotes about how to be a good person, kind of like a Confucius say of the Egyptian world.
Okay. He was a pharaoh?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
And at some of he was apparently murdered at the end of his reign. And some of the papyri that have the instructions of Amenemhat ascribe some of the instructions about how to avoid evil courtiers and palace intrigues to his ghost telling his children this.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know that it proves anything, but there's some people talk about some of the sources talk about his ghost.
So we do have a mention of a ghost.
Yeah.
In ancient Egypt. Okay.
And the other one that I can think of is in something that was called an offering bowl. That occasionally people would write their letters to the dead, and that people would write letters to dead people in the bottom of a bowl, and then fill the bowl with wine, and then place it close to their tomb. And one of them is a man who is writing a letter to his ex-wife, and she died, and he's remarried, and he's blaming her for all the problems in his life because he believes that she's jealous that he's gotten a new wife and that she is,
interfering with the relationship.
Haunting them, basically.
Right.
Huh.
But I know a little bit about the soul in Egypt, and because of the kind of nature of Egyptian religion, a lot of the texts contradict from one time period to another, and different people, like today, believe different things. But you probably heard the division between the Ba and the Ka before.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So there was two forms of the soul like that. There was also, when your Ka would reunite with your body, they would refer that to that as the Akh spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a few things in the New Kingdom, in the Book of the Dead, that refer to somebody's shadow, that ways to banish somebody's shadow after they've died.
I know with every pharaoh that came into rule, for a fact, let's be honest with each other, I mean, these people were put up to the level of man god to the Egyptian cult, to the Egyptians, below them. But they were human beings, and as we know all too well, that each human being on this planet is different, no matter who you are. Even if you're twins, you're going to be different, and especially in the way you think and the way you're moved by your emotions. And pharaohs were people too. And you did mention earlier, a few minutes ago, about how things changed over the years as far as belief systems in Egypt went, and that was a result of a different pharaoh coming in with their own belief systems.
Well, and also, I mean, the pharaoh didn't necessarily. I mean, yeah, he was a man god, but a lot of the religion was dictated by the priests and priestesses.
Oh yes.
So I mean, the pharaoh wasn't down in the trenches saying believe in ghosts. Or you're being haunted by your ex-wife. I mean, the pharaoh was the man god in charge of the whole place.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he probably helped guide.
They had a very strong hand in that.
He had a strong hand in guiding the belief systems and the changes of them, but he wasn't like the major,
But that would be the main influence on the change, though. A result of that, there's theories about, I hate to bring it up again, but there are theories about the Cheops pyramid. If you go in the Cheops pyramid, there's no hieroglyphics in the pyramid.
Well, there's a heck of a lot of graffiti, and there is that one that...
Well, that's the Wellington Chamber you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's where the very top. I'm talking about, if you go to any of the other pyramids, there is hieroglyphics everywhere.
Right.
They're talking about, one of the theories, which is it's not held with very high regard, but it's noteworthy itself, is that after they say that King Khufu may have died early. Theoretically speaking, they were in a race against time to get this pyramid done before he died. He may have died before they completed the pyramid. And
then what do you do? Yeah.
Well, it could have been one way or the other. Well, we didn't finish the hieroglyphics, or it could have been the other way around. Because I know with also I read the book about. I'm going to probably say the name wrong too. Mike, correct me if I say this incorrect.
I think that was incorrect.
Akhenaten.
I always reverse the K and the H. Akhenaten himself, when he passed away, he built temple upon temple upon temple. When he passed away, they scribbled his hieroglyphics out.
Mm-hmm.
They censored him.
Wow.
They censored him because they didn't.
They do that with history books nowadays.
Well, yeah, they've been doing that for years.
Yeah.
But the specifics of his belief system was very radical to that of the traditional beliefs. And well, he's the pharaoh. We got to go with what he says. But after he died, here comes scrape him out, and you can still see the scratch marks on the hieroglyphics of his old temples. That shows you, though, you were talking about the changes over time, and some of these pharaohs were very radical in their beliefs as time went on too.
Yeah, some were even from foreign countries.
Yeah.
There were people who came from Assyria. There were people who came from Nubia.
If I'm okay, call me stupid. I'm going to probably be wrong here, but I thought I read something somewhere where Cleopatra was actually from Africa.
Cleopatra was one of the Ptolemies, and that was a Greek era.
Okay, I read. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm totally wrong. But I read something I thought somewhere where Cleopatra herself was from Africa.
She was the last. She was born in Africa. Egypt's in Africa.
Well, yeah, I know that. But she wasn't. Well, you were saying they were foreign though. She wasn't.
Of
born.
Egypt.
Yeah, she wasn't of Egyptian descent herself.
Well, she wasn't a pharaoh per se. She was a. Was she? I mean, pharaohs were men. I thought.
No.
No,
she was. Wasn't she the first? She was the first pharaoh, I believe, to be a female.
No.
No, she wasn't.
There was.
I don't know my history.
Shepset.
What was that? Say that again.
Shepset.
Shepset. I want to read that when I get home. I had that somewhere.
Mike, what do you do for a living?
I'm a grad student.
Ah, okay.
And I actually have a master's degree in Egyptology.
Oh my God! Really?
Oh, I have a feeling Scott L's going to be getting your.
Where do you live again?
Providence.
You live in Providence?
I got my master's degree in Toronto.
Really?
Yep.
Dude, we gotta hang out.
Yeah, we will one day.
Do you drink Guinness?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay, all right, man. We're gonna light up a weekend, man. I'm telling you right now. What kind of bars are out in Providence?
Sorry?
What kind of bars do they have out in Providence? Are they hot?
It's not much of a bar scene.
You gotta come out here then.
Go up to just like do the rounds through Mount Clemens.
So you have a master's in Egyptology?
Yep.
I was considering, I've talked about it down here in the Haunted Basement Studios of going back to school, and I wanted to get my to go back to graduate school for that itself.
For Egyptology.
For Egyptology, yes. Or pyramidology, but there's not too many schools that support that particular type of curriculum either. But Egyptology, it's a lot easier to get a degree in that than pyramidology itself.
Well, it's offered more, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. I got.
So, but what about? Okay, so there's two references to ghosts.
Okay.
That I know of. There may well be more.
Right, there could be more, but obviously, now Egypt and the reign of the pharaohs and that kind of thing was approximately how many years? Like, are we talking 100 years, 1,000 years?
The whole from one end to the other?
Yeah.
Well, you probably have the first pharaohs like King Din or Narmer, probably around 3,500 BC, and then there were people who were calling themselves pharaohs. Like every Roman emperor had himself crowned as a pharaoh.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like every English.
But they stopped.
Sorry, Mike. I'm sorry.
Sorry?
Sorry, but no, I was going to say something stupid, but Doug told me to shut up.
Yeah.
So go ahead. I apologize.
Okay, so 3,500 BC through these.
Yeah, through
Roman times.
Through Rome.
Okay, so this is kind of a long time, don't you think?
Yeah.
That's a rather long time, and because we're talking, many, many centuries. So, and we can think of only two references to ghosts, whereas, like, for example, in the past, year, I've heard probably, 100, 200 new ghost stories.
From Egypt?
From here.
Okay.
Okay, so ghosts weren't, an amazing part of their culture, were they?
True. I guess you could draw that conclusion.
But it might not have been the focus of their religion either.
Well, ghosts are not the focus of our religion. They're just something we talk about.
Well, yeah.
And write about.
They're the focus of our lives.
So we do movies about them. We do. There's a lot of.
Well, they're a
evidence.
part of pop culture. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of evidence that people in modern times think about ghosts.
I have a question for Mike though.
Yeah.
Mike.
Yeah.
You have a master's degree in Egyptology, right? You said you have a master's degree in Egyptology, right?
This is true.
Okay, good. we have Phobos as one of our consultants on the show. He's like right now he's like the all-around smart guy we have. But he obviously doesn't have the expertise that you have on the punch myself in the face. Egyptian end of knowledge. Could we make you our consultant for we talk about Egypt a lot on this show. We do. It comes up. If we need to talk to you about this, can we consult you on that? Would that be okay?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, great. So we're going to put you on the payroll, all right?
All right. Well, Mike, what were the Netjeru?
Netjeru is a word for any one of the gods. They were called Netjeru, like, Thoth or Amun or Re or any of those gods.
And what were the beings of light?
I'm not certain what you mean by this term. I knew there were people who were called
the Mike now?
The people of the sun?
Well, there was that, but no, the only reference I could find to beings of light were the priests and priestess of Thoth, or whatever. They were referred to as beings of light, but they were real people, and they were referred to as beings of light because Isis's robes, they would shine evidently on Isis's robes, and you could see through Isis's robes. Calm down, Scott. And can you imagine?
Would you cut it out? What?
I'm just preempting. But so that's the story that I read about beings of light in ancient Egypt, which was, I thought, fairly trivia kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think we're gonna have to.
We're still gonna have to research this. We're gonna have to research that definitely this week. In a nutshell, though, Mike.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before on the show, me and you, as far as Egypt, goes. As far as the construction of the Great Pyramids, as far as we know, it was not an easy job. Okay, it sounds ridiculous, but I mean it's true in its own right. A lot of people died during that time. We're talking about carrying heavy rocks and piling them up into a pyramid structure. That's why I really want to go to Egypt so bad, because I believe, we've only heard, as far as we know right now, there's two ghost stories, so to say, from Egyptian history, culture. Doesn't it make sense to you, or as in Doug, or you, Mike, that a place like that, where there was a lot of death as a result of strenuous work, going uphill, and we've talked about stairs here.
Yes, we
We've
have.
talked about stairs and hauntings of stairs. Doesn't it make sense that would be an extremely haunted place? Well, as far as we could tell. I mean, that's a hard thing to say. But, I think the likelihood of feeling something or sensing something or possibly getting something on film or audio will be very high in a place like inside the Great Pyramid or outside the Great Pyramid or somewhere close to the Great Pyramid or the other pyramids themselves. What do you think about that, Mike?
I think your biggest problem would be getting permission.
That's a given. We know that, right?
Yeah.
That's the only thing I'm trying to deal with right now, aside from the financial burden it's going to put on me.
Well, when I win Powerball, I'll take you.
What's that?
Win the Powerball.
I'll take you.
There you go.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you're going to
I've never been to Egypt, and if I win Powerball, I'll take you.
You've been there already, you said?
Never been.
You've never been?
No.
Neither have I. I have to go. I'm going to scale that pyramid, too. And I'm probably going to get shot at.
Yeah, you're probably going to get arrested.
I'm probably because they don't want you anything. You can't even fly planes over the Giza Plateau anymore. They won't let you fly planes over it.
You guys, I have to close the show.
What, man? We're having fun.
I know, but I have to close the show because coming up next on 0 Point Radio is a brand new show.
Mike,
Thank you, Mike.
Mike.
Hang up on that.
Oh, Mike. We didn't want to hang up on... Oh.
Thanks, Mike.
Mike, sorry, man.
Because
email me. Call me.
Coming up is a new show by our very own Max called Max Head Case or something like that. So anyway, it's coming up after Ghostly Talk. Then after that is going to be, of course, Clyde Lewis with Ground Zero. So
interesting show.
Power Monday. I had a great time this
Thank
show.
you, Mike. Thank you, Phobos. Thank you, Steve, for calling in and helping us not have to talk so much.
Yeah, it worked out very well.
No, Mike, email me, seriously. We have to do some more talking here. Mike, we have Mike on the payroll now.
Yeah.
Mike is here. We have another
official Ghostly Talk consultant. Yeah.
We have Phobos and Mike, the dream team. Who's going to be next?
I know.
Who's going to be next?
It's awesome.
We're not going to be doing anything in a couple months here.
I know. We'll just sit back and let them talk.
Yeah, there you go. That's it. I'm Scott L.
And I'm Doug.
And we're going home. This was Ghostly Talk.
True science will not deny the existence of things because they cannot be weighed and measured. It will rather lead us to believe that the wonders and subtleties of possible existence surpass all that our mental powers allow us clearly to perceive.
We must ignore no existence whatsoever. We may variously interpret or explain its meaning and origin, but if a phenomenon does exist, it demands some kind of explanation.
A quote from the Principles of Science, William Stanley Jevons, 1835 to 1882.